What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and today we are going to be answering your questions in a subscriber Q&A. But before we do that, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. So I picked out a handful of comments from the comment section, Reddit, and Discord, and we're going to go ahead and answer those on video today. So the first question here is from Rice Balls, and he asked, does the Dimension Invitation worth the AP on the Akane dice game? Well, thank you for your question, Rice Balls, and I do believe it is. When you really stop and think about it, especially being after a collab, it's important to have these dimensional invites, but also when you consider the fact that they are basically the equivalent of 3 fest memories, there is a lot of value there, so I definitely recommend trying to get it if you can. Now, next up, Luke Dripwalker asked, with BS and SS fighters, do you think they're going to continue releasing them in pairs? Also, what do you think is a good release schedule for them? Do you think we should get new ones every couple of months, or should they be more rare, like only releasing 3 or 4 pairs a year? Thank you for your question, Luke. I appreciate it. To answer your question, I do believe that they are going to be releasing these pretty much off the heels of whatever collaborations they do in the future. At least that seems to be the pattern now. So if you really think about it, we should be getting about 3 or 4 of these a year. That seems to be kind of the going rate if you consider it that way. So I do think that they are probably going to be more so looking at these as kind of a quarterly thing. And as far as a schedule goes, I think that that's fine. I would prefer to see a little bit more time in between the collaborations and the Boss Syndrome fighters, though, because I do feel like even though they're giving us 10k free rubies this time around, I don't expect that every single time. So it's one of those things where unless they're planning on doing that over and over again whenever they do these types of banners, I do think that they need to give us a little bit of time to breathe. But it's kind of a delicate balancing act, right? When you consider the fact that if we go more than 2 weeks without new content in this game, such as a limited banner or a collaboration, people are up in arms on the forum saying the game is dead and that they're bored and this, that, or the other thing. So it kind of goes back to the idea that you can't please everyone, especially if you're Netmarble. You can only please maybe 10% of the people at a time. So it's just, as far as releasing them in pairs, I do believe that that is going to be what they do going forward. Really, at this point, my biggest question is kind of how they're planning on implementing these, as long as they're going to be doing them this way with reruns at the same time as new releases, because if they put these all on the same banner, it's going to upset half of the player base, and it is going to make half the player base happy. The half that'll be happy will be the half that missed the last 2, and the half that'll be upset will be the ones that already had the last 2, if that makes sense. So, but thank you for your question, and awesome username. Next up, next question is from Shibi Drill, I believe. He asks, Theo, do you play fighting games other than KOF, like DBZ Fighters, Tekken, etc.? All right, Shibi, thank you for your question, and yes, I play quite a few different fighting games besides King of Fighters, but King of Fighters really is my passion as far as fighting games go. Like, for instance, I will play plenty of Street Fighter, I'll play plenty of Tekken, I love Guilty Gear as well, so I will play other fighting games. However, when it comes to the ones that I play the most, if I had to be brutally honest, I would say it's King of Fighters and Super Smash Brothers. But those are probably the 2 that I play the most. But also a lot of it comes down to time, because I just don't have a lot of time anymore, and I play a lot of other types of video games. Like, for instance, I play a ton of survival horror games. Besides King of Fighters, I would say that Resident Evil is probably my favorite gaming franchise. But yeah, I play a ton of video games though. But thank you for your question, Shibi Drill, I appreciate it. So next up, we have a question from Venom. He says, please make an epic quest guide. So I know people have asked me for an epic quest guide in the past. I will definitely get one done. That's quite the undertaking, especially when you consider the fact that there's a lot of updates that's been going on recently. But I will definitely be working on one and have that out at some point. Next up, we have a question from Pushkar Pandy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He wants to know, which BS banner should I focus on and which BS unit is best for PvE? So, when it comes to the upcoming update, I can't tell you one way or the other which ones to focus on versus the old ones versus the new ones, because I don't know what the new ones do. So I can't really give you that. As far as the current 2, I would say that definitely as far as overall value is concerned, you're going to get the most mileage out of Omega Rugal. Out of these current 2 being Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal and Boss Syndrome Orochi. So I do believe that you'll get the most versatility across all modes with Omega Rugal. But when it comes to characters this strong, it's tough for me to kind of sit here and, you know, split hairs and compare them, because really there's a reason why people kind of put the SS and the BS characters in the same breath and just leave it at that. There's so much parity with them, and they're so close to each other, and they all are just so good in general that it doesn't really matter, because all four of them, or at least in this instance, both of them are going to be great, so it doesn't matter. Next up, Mecha Guy Carlo wants to know any plans on branching out to other games and featuring them on your channel. So thank you for that question, Mecha Guy Carlo. Actually, Mecha Guy Carlo has been with the channel for a very long time, so shout out to him. But yes, I do definitely plan on doing so. There's quite a few games that I plan on introducing at some point just to try and test. The one that I know for a fact I'm probably going to be doing kind of full-time besides King of Fighters All-Star is probably going to be Marvel Future Revolution when that drops. But I've also been considering games such as Seven Knights 2, the Devil May Cry mobile game, so on and so forth. There's a lot of games that are coming out this year that I would like to test out, but it's really going to come down as far as whether or not I play them long-term on this channel, how people kind of look at them, and if people enjoy the content and want to play the game or like the game. So it's going to depend on support for those, but I am definitely going to be adding those to the channel and trying those out when they drop. So thank you for your question. Next up, we have Joshua Radloff, who asks, I think the best way they could have helped us recharge would have been to give us at least a month worth of time between releasing the BS banner, so we could have gotten 55,882 rubies. P.S. I'm so jealous of your rubies. Thank you for your question, Joshua. So I do think that they could definitely, like I mentioned earlier, give us more time in between. I'm laughing because he cited the exact amount of rubies that I have. I've been actually saving fairly well for a while now. I've been budgeting very well as well, so that's the reason why. For those of you who have been following the channel since the SS banners, you'll know that I have been saving mightily since then, and budgeted myself quite a bit when it came to the Seven Knights, or the Seven Deadly Sins rather. But yeah, so I do definitely think that they could give us more time in between. I think that that would be really beneficial. However, I do think that part of the way they're trying to make up for that and trying to stay on schedule and keep everybody happy is with the 10K Ruby event. So, you know, it's one of those things where I'm glad that if they're going to continue on the schedule, that at least they did that, because that'll at least keep us out of too much hot water on the forums, because you guys know how volatile it can be on there sometimes. But, you know, I do think that they could definitely give us at least a few weeks in between and keep us a little bit less stressed, put it that way. So thank you for your question, though. Next up, we have Abdul Hakim Ben Slim. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that name. Great video as always, bro. I just want to know, are you going to make the ROG5 unboxing video and the review on it regarding KOF AS? So thank you for your question, Abdul Hakim. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. So actually, I had said this on the stream a little while back with Gunny. I had actually gotten the ROG5, and when I got it in, it had been opened. So I believe it must have been some sort of like showroom model or whatever, even though they said it was factory sealed. So I got it, it was opened, and I didn't want to play around with that, so I actually returned that phone, and I actually ordered the 16 gigabyte ROG3. So that is actually what I've been making most of my videos on for the past, I would say, month or so. So if you've noticed major improvements, not only in the actual content itself, but also my audio especially, that's why. So I can do a review on how I feel about that phone on KOF All-Star, but I love it. Let's just put it that way. Next up, we have Robbie Hilliard. He's asking, Battle Card Dungeon was my choice for farming dice. I'll try story mode as well. Thanks for the tip about the circle, purple stone, and yellow square stone choosing. But what about hexagon stones? So this is actually in reference to yesterday's video, and I had walked through a couple of the different generic kind of plus stones that you can get from your selection box, and somebody had asked me which ones that they should pick. So when it comes to those boxes, the reason I didn't pick a hexagon stone is because really none of them stand out as anything super special, at least compared to the two that I recommended, which you'll get a lot of use out of in general. So honestly, I would say that you should probably just focus on one of those other two. I really don't feel like the hexagon generic stones are really anything super special that you're going to be using very often. so that's why I didn't put that in there. And I really do feel like those other 2 stones that I did talk about are going to be the way to go for 99% of people with those, because you're just going to want R stones down the road anyway. So next up, Rascal asks, I just got one question. Will the 10,000 rubies go away once it hits the 28th, or do they stay? Sorry if it seems like a stupid question. Well, first off, Rascal, there's no such thing as a stupid question, and yes, they do expire. They expire on May 8th. So you're going to have a couple of weeks here in order to use them. About after the time they go live and we have all of them in our inventory, you should have, I think it's roughly about 10 days. So you shouldn't have any issue getting those spent in that amount of time though, especially when we're getting the boss syndrome characters coming into the game. So I really wouldn't worry about it too much. But yes, they do expire, so make sure that you don't leave them there and forget about them, because you'll want to make sure that you get as much out of those as humanly possible. But my recommendation is just go for the boss syndrome characters. Next up, we have a question from Intrepid Cosmonaut. He once says, so besides the story mode, I'm good on affinity items. What's the best thing to farm? Power-up dungeons or Inferno? Or on Inferno? So thank you for your question, Intrepid Cosmonaut. Shout out to you. You've been with the channel forever. When it comes to this one, I would say that really, if you're not going to grind story mode, if you're doing your overnights, pick one of the power-up dungeons or the battle card dungeon or something like that to set at your 99 runs overnight, because those take longer to clear. So you can do that and get kind of more bang for your buck that way. But if you're not going to be grinding story mode, I would say one of the easier missions on Epic Quest that you can clear real quick, kind of like the one that I showed you guys in that video yesterday, would be the best way to go. Only because you can grind other items in there too, so you can grind up your buffs for Epic Quest, and that Epic Quest is also known to drop capsules as well. So I do think that that one, time efficiency wise, is going to be the best. But if you're just going for some of these other power-up dungeons and so on and so forth, I would do those more so as kind of your overnight grinds, because that's going to take quite a while to do 99 runs in those dungeons. But at that point, it really comes down to what you need the most of, in my opinion. Because at that point, you're going to want to just kind of go with whatever it is you're missing after this collaboration, kind of zapping us of a lot of our resources and so on and so forth. So, but that is going to be the questions for today's video, guys. As always, if you have questions for me, leave them in the comments section. I am extremely active and pride myself on being extremely active in the comment section. So I will try to make sure that I get to as many of those as possible. And if I don't, hey, you'll probably end up in a video and I'll be answering it on video. So make sure to leave those questions. You can leave them on my Discord, link will be in the description, or you can go ahead and leave them on these videos. But other things that I do want to talk about, guys, I am considering, you guys can let me know in the comment section how you feel about this, but I'm thinking that what we'll probably do next week is we will live stream our summons for the boss syndrome characters. That's something I've been kicking around, so you guys can let me know what you feel about that. Another big thing is we hit the 1400 subscriber milestone today. So thank you guys so much for the support. The channel has been growing fantastically for the past month. I could not be more happy. Thank you guys for all the love and support. You guys are the reason why I do this. I say this all the time. You guys are what keeps me going on here. So anyway, guys, that's going to be today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, like, share, and subscribe, and cue the new outro.